another episode of the Highlight Reel. My name is Nick Lynch.
And I'm Ben Heltzer.
And since the week after the Super Bowl is always pretty slow, we're going to be doing something that we did last year. We're going to focus on our top 5 games for the year. So at number 5, I'm going to go with the Week 1 season opener, the Ravens and the Chiefs. I mean, that was a great game. The AFC Championship rematch from last season, and the Chiefs win this one. The Ravens throughout that game, I feel like just unnecessary penalties. I mean, with the new rule changes being in place, a lot of illegal shift calls, a lot of false starts, and just a lot of penalties on the offensive line. And then the Ravens, they go on their last drive, and the last play of the game, Isaiah Likely catches the ball in the end zone, but his toe was out of bounds, and that's how the game ended.
Yeah, great game. Obviously, it kicked off the Chiefs' black magic narrative of them winning these crazy games that they shouldn't be winning. But yeah, the Ravens lose it by a toe. It was a great game to watch. Opening Monday night game, I think it was, or Sunday night game. Thursday night game, yeah, because the Chiefs won the Super Bowl the previous year. Sorry, yeah, but it was a great season opener. Great way to kick off the year, and a tough loss for the Ravens. But at my number 5, I'm going to go with the Bengals versus Ravens game, the one that was in Baltimore, Week 10. It's going to be one of 2 Ravens-Bengals games in my top 5. Both of them were amazing. This one, back and forth, high-scoring game, 1-point game. Every time the Ravens and the Bengals play, you know that it's going to be absolute fireworks.
I believe this is the one in Baltimore, correct?
The one in Baltimore, Week 10.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens, I can remember that game. They had an early first-half lead, and then Cincinnati in the second half battled back. And then, it was a great game. But for number 4, I'm going to go with the Week 10 matchup, the Lions and the Texans. That game had a little bit of everything. It had, Jared Goff throwing 5 interceptions. It had a Jake Bates nail-biter field goal to win the game for the Lions. And, it was just incredible. It's a highly anticipated matchup. 2, new teams who are getting better each year, the Lions and the Texans. And that was a lot. I was expecting a lot from that game, and I think it turned out to be really good.
Yeah, I agree. It was a great game between 2 young and likable teams. It's crazy how Jared Goff can throw 5 picks and still win. But the Texans hung in there when nobody expected them to, so it had that, underdog aspect to it a little bit. It was a great game. Jumping to my number 4, I'm going to go with the Bengals and the Chiefs. The Bengals are on here again and on the losing end again. Week 2 at the Chiefs, continuing their, again, black magic narrative, winning with a phantom pass interference call, I'm pretty sure. That shouldn't have been called, but it gave the Chiefs field position to kick that game winner. They ended up winning 26-25, I'm pretty sure. Another 1-point game. Great game so far.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with that game, I remember watching that game, and I was pretty upset when that pass interference was called. I didn't think that was pass interference at all. But that kind of started the Bengals. They started the season off awkwardly, starting 1-3, and I feel like that game. I wish that game would have been a little later in the year to see how the Bengals.
Yeah,
would really
I agree.
do. But still a great game overall. So for number 3, I'm gonna go with your number 5, Bengals and the Ravens in Baltimore. Like we said, it was a back and forth game. The Bengals lose it on a 2-point conversion that was dropped, and that's how the Ravens won.
Yeah, we already touched on this game, so we don't need to go too in depth of it again. So we're just going to jump to my number 3, which is the Eagles at the Commanders, Week 16 divisional game. Commanders needed that win to solidify their playoff spot. They ended up getting it by a field goal. Jaden Daniels stormed back. I'm pretty sure they were down a good amount at one point. Jaden Daniels led the comeback and led a final game-winning drive to go down, kick the game-winning field goal. This game just had everything. It was high-scoring, action-packed, divisional rivalry. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree. That's actually going to be my number 2, Eagles and the Commanders. I mean, Jalen Hurts went down early for the Eagles. He went down with a concussion. Kenny Pickett comes in. I think he did a pretty good job, considering he's had hardly any reps in practice earlier that week. He kept the Eagles in the game even when their starting quarterback was injured. But, great job by Jaden Daniels. I mean, that's the game I think that I thought he was going to be a star in the NFL in the future.
Yeah, I think that solidified him as one of the best quarterbacks in the league and probably the best quarterback in the NFC. But jumping to my number 2, I'm going to go with the Rams and the Bills. I mean, talk about action-packed, high-scoring. I think it was the second highest-scoring game all season, only behind the Bills-Lions game that happened a week later. But, yeah, this game was back and forth. The Bills down, I think, like 2+ scores at one point, came back, made it exciting at the end. But, yeah, in this day and age in the NFL, the number one thing any fan wants to see is just high-scoring offense, like offense. This game had it. Josh Allen had, I think, over 400 passing yards. He put up the number 1 fantasy week for any quarterback all season with 50 points. So, yeah, this game had it all.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the very strange games the Rams have won. I mean, the Rams, they beat Buffalo, they beat San Francisco, they've beaten Minnesota. They've beaten, all these good teams. And, I think that game kind of sparked the Rams.
Yeah, I had a feeling they were going to win that game. And that was definitely the momentum they needed to get that playoff spot and even win a playoff game, which they did. So
yeah. So we're going to move to number 1 now. My pick is going to be that Ravens-Bengals game, the first one, Week 5, back in Cincinnati. I mean, that was a really back-and-forth game.
Yeah, and I'm just going to cut you off for a second because that's my number 1 too, so let's just get into it. Again, like I said earlier, every time the Ravens and the Bengals play, it's going to be an absolute show, and this was no exception. I think 41-38, overtime. It went 1 second you thought the Bengals were going to win, then you thought the Ravens were going to win, then you thought the Bengals were going to drive down, kick the field goal. I think they missed the field goal or got blocked or something.
In overtime,
and then
they missed it.
in overtime, and then the Ravens went down and they kicked the game winner. But yeah, this game was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, the rule is in the NFL, I think, for scheduling, in the division anyway, the 2 games aren't supposed to be primetime games. Only one of them can. But this I feel like is a matchup that has to be 2 primetime matchups for next year. I mean, that the Ravens and the Bengals are the 2 most entertaining teams to watch.
Yeah, they're so fun to watch, especially when they play each other. And my number 1 wish for next season is to have these teams be in the playoffs because that would just be electric.
Yeah, I really want to see Cincinnati get a shot in the playoffs, but hopefully they start out right. Well, that's it for us on the NFL, but up next is me and Smitty talking about the NHL.
Hello and welcome back to the NHL on the Highlight Reel. I'm Smitty and this is Nick Lynch. This week we'll be covering the Four Nations Face-Off. So last week we told you the key players and the teams that will be competing in this game. So let's talk about the games that happened last week and the start of this week.
So the first game last Wednesday to open up the Four Nations Face-Off, Canada and Sweden. Canada takes an early lead, 3-1, and then Sweden comes back in the third period to make it 4, and then Canada scores the overtime winner to make it 4-3. 3 assists from Sidney Crosby, 1 goal from Nathan McKinnon, and from Brad Marchand, a goal from Mark Stone too, and then Mitch Marner scores the winner in overtime. Yeah, I think this was a good start for Canada. I mean, that third period didn't go so well, but I
thought that was the best overtime I've ever seen.
Yeah,
just the 3-on-3. Just going back and forth, McKinnon and McDavid and Crosby, all of them just going down, attacking, all of them all on the same line is just crazy, and it's really fun to watch them play, and it's really cool to see how skilled they are and how they compete against the rest of the best on best players in the NHL. But moving on to our next game, we have USA versus Finland. USA came out on top 6-1 with 2 goals from both Tkachuk brothers, another goal from Matt Boldy and Jake Gensel, but also the defenseman Zach Werenski had 3 assists, and also Jack Eichel had 2 assists. So great game for USA to come out and demolish Finland, who I think is probably the worst team in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Finland, they could be better, but I think, that was a great start for the U.S. 5-1, or I'm sorry, 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
5 goals they won by. I mean, it was just a good start.
Yep.
But then on Saturday we had the first 2 games. We'll start with the Sweden-Finland. Finland actually beat Sweden 4-3 in overtime and pulls off the upset.
Yeah, I don't get that, but I mean, hockey's hockey.
Yeah.
Anybody could win on any given night.
Yeah. Alexander Barkov had a goal for Finland too. And then the game we've all been waiting for, Canada and the United States. First off, since the game's in Montreal, they booed the U.S. national anthem.
I think that's just disrespectful in general. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, they didn't. They're probably now, since it's in Boston, they're probably gonna boo them too.
Yeah.
But like, I still think it's disrespectful. It's their national anthem. You should be just standing there, and even though you don't know it, you should still stand there and support them.
Yeah. And then to start off the game, we have 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of the game. It got so bad that the referee had to come over to the U.S. bench and say, like, hey, knock it off. Like,
well, Kachuk, supposedly they had Kachuk, both Kachuk brothers, and JT Miller. Supposedly they had a group chat going on throughout the day, and they were like, I think we gotta get the party rolling like right away, and that's what they did. Matthew Kachuk dropped the gloves with Brandon Hagel. Right after that, Brady Kachuk, his brother, dropped the gloves with Sam Bennett, and then, which is funny about that, Bennett is Matthew's teammate. And Brady was yelling at him on the ice. He was like, Bennett, get out here, let's go. And so John Cooper sent out Bennett and Kachuk, and him dropped the gloves. And then 5 seconds later, JT Miller fought Colton Parayko. Just that one was interesting. Just huge size difference Parayko had on Miller, but it was a good fight by Miller. But finally, we got the game underway. Connor McDavid flies past Charlie McAvoy and gives Team Canada the 1-0 lead. But then 5 minutes later, USA answers with a goal from Jake Gensel, a beautiful sauce pass from Jack Eichel, and he buries it 5-hole on Binnington. But Binnington is awful. That was an awful goal. But just before that, Charlie McAvoy lays the absolute boom on McDavid, sending him right onto the ground with a great hip check. That's the whole reason why the whole goal and the 2-on-1 started for the USA.
Yeah, I mean, what a hit, what a goal. But yeah, I think you're right. Binnington should have gotten that.
Yeah, that wasn't a great goal.
Yeah. So then with 6 minutes left in the second period, Dylan Larkin on a 2-on-1, and he gives the U.S. a 2-1 lead. Larkin has. I feel like this has been a good tournament for Dylan Larkin. He's been the captain in Detroit for a while. He got to come up to the United States and play.
Yep.
And play for the team, and I think he's just had a great tournament all around.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Same with Jake Gensel. He has 2 goals. He had 2 goals in this game, and that empty netter. So USA clinches their ticket to the championship game on Thursday, and I thought that was just a great game, especially just USA Canada. Like, what more can you say?
Yeah.
And then that also. The USA, they destroy Crosby's 26-0 international play. Now he's 26-1. So good job on that for the USA. But moving on to moving back to Boston on Monday, Canada was right back at it against Finland. They put them away 5-3 with 2 goals from Nathan McKinnon, a goal from Crosby and Stone, and Point as well.
Yeah, I mean, Canada, they're back to their usual self. 5-3 went over Finland. But then the game, U.S. and Sweden. U.S. had many injuries piling up. They still do. They lose this one 2-1. But I think, more importantly, this is kind of a resting day for the United States. I mean, even though they say their players were injured, I think it was just a rest day.
Yeah, they said that Matthew Kachuk and well, right, before the game they said McAvoy was just a rest night for them, but late last night McAvoy went to the hospital, and this morning he is considered ruled out with an infection, so he will not be playing Thursday in the championship game, which is not going to be good for the USA in the back. But I think they still can manage. They still have a good team and definitely great offense, so I think they can manage. But then Brady Tkachuk also, after the first 2 shifts, he went sliding into the Sweden's goaltender, and he injured his left leg. So for precautionary reasons, Mike Sullivan took him out for the game, but he said he's playing. And then also Matthews was out due to illness, so hopefully he'll be good to go on Thursday as well against Canada.
Yeah. So let's get to our predictions for the championship game. I think the U.S. I said it last week that Canada will win the whole thing. I'm gonna stick with my prediction. I think that Canada's gonna take information from Saturday, learn from it, and then I think they're gonna come back at the U.S.
I hear you. I do, but I think I'm still sticking with my home state or my home country. And I think USA is gonna do it, even though they're missing their best defenseman, defensive defenseman. I think they're still gonna do it, and they're going to win. I think 3-2 in overtime with the playoff, the Stanley Cup playoff rule overtime, and I think they're gonna win.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the same score, but except Canada. I don't think this one's gonna go into overtime. I think it's just gonna end in regulation.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna do it for this week on the NHL. On the highlight reel, thank you for watching, but stay tuned for Andrew talking about soccer.
Hello, I'm Andrew Mirzaaghasi, and I'll be talking about soccer once again, this time with a special occasion. Welcome to the Manchester Special, as this episode will just be talking about the boys in red and blue and how they can't win or lose all the time. So, starting off with Man City, of course, I'm a Man City fan. I just have no words of what we had to deal with Real Madrid because we lost 3-2. And you want to know why? Because our team cannot defend for our life in the last minutes of the game. My score prediction was way off because it turned out, we did score. You know who only scored this game? Haaland, twice. I can't tell if we just don't have any other people besides him just to score, which it's unbelievable. We just only pass it to him, and then he has to make it. We just can't. We really can't at this point. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Haaland. I'm wearing a Haaland jersey right now. But we have other people on this team that can score and show the potential of scoring. We have Phil Foden, Kevin De Bruyne, other players such as Silva, and hell, even this season we are shown, even with Marmoush, I've heard, we have also scored from there. We'll talk about Omar Marmoush later on, but for now we talk about Man City versus Real Madrid. It's just unbelievable that we have all these other players and they don't even have our opportunity to score. That's how we won last season. We won last season because other players got other opportunities. But now we just give it a Haaland and we'll see if he can score it. It's a poor strategy. It has to change because everyone would just target him. Most of the goals he can't even score because most of the team players know that it's just going to go to him. They just got to block the shot and that's it. It just doesn't work like that. You have to play as a team. And, of course, Haaland's also annoyed by this, so I don't blame him. Our defense could also use some work as well because we just end up losing in the last second. And then there's our goalie, Ederson. Ederson, I want him gone because, honestly, he doesn't work for us at this point. He's not a Martinez in an Argentina / Aston Villa goalie. He's not like that. He would go into a fit of rage if he gets replaced. And I've seen him. Because I remember the one game he got injured and Pep Guardiola decided to replace him, and Ederson tried to fight back, trying to say, I could still play. But Pep didn't want to risk it, so he just decided to bench him. He was just furious. He kicked the chair, and he was just overall mad. Ederson, right now, no, he's not doing good at all. I just want him replaced. Even legendary defender Jamie Carragher said that he should be replaced because he's doing a terrible job. And honestly, I agree, because Ederson needs to go. I don't see him being a proper goalie at all. And honestly, it's so painful to see. I don't know how the second leg is going to go because they would have to score more goals than Real Madrid just to go past them. And it ends up being the same way that we just end up getting eliminated because of Real Madrid. And I don't blame them. It's either because of Ederson or a team can't even defend. It's a disaster. I'll add one more thing to this as, of course, this season has one problem, a major problem. Most of our players are just injured. We ended up losing Grealish and Doku due to their injuries, and Rodri, or Ballon d'Or winner, decided to get off the season because of a knee injury. But also, update for this player, Akanji is going under a surgery, so we don't even have him either. So I have no clue what we're going to do. So after that entire rant that I just gave, I can at least give good news that Man City won against Newcastle 4-0. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Don't know how we did it, because Anthony Gordon was ready to play the game right after his injury. And you know how I don't like Anthony Gordon, because if there's one penalty, he will be the primary taker, and he will score because Ederson can't do anything about it. But he didn't score. I'm quite shocked by that. So who did score these goals? So it's not Haaland, it's not Foden, or De Bruyne. Instead, it was by Omar Marmoush, one of the three players that Man City decided to nab in free agency, and it shows very good promise as Omar Marmoush made a hat trick during this game, which is good to see new talent rising. Omar Marmoush is one of the three players, like I said, that Man City was able to get. And so far, he has shown potential, and I'm glad to see that new talent is finally rising in the team, because I don't mind the old talent. The old talent becomes experience, and thus it teaches the new players on new strategies to do. But it's good to see that someone else besides Haaland or Foden or Kevin De Bruyne or Silva finally scoring and winning the game for the team. So I'm glad to see Marmoush showing that he has good promise in Man City. Hopefully, the defense can just keep it for once, and hopefully we win. So that's it for the Man City side. Now we move on to Man United. Now, I don't talk about Man United, of course, because I'm a Man City fan. So they are doing terrible this season. They are literally in 15th the last time I checked in the standings, which is quite a shocker, but they're near regulation. They went against Tottenham, in which they ended up losing 1-0. An early goal made by Maddison in the 13th minute, in which it was a tap-in which it was very preventable. I had no idea what the goalie was doing. This game was so bad that most of the highlights were just Man United going into the box, trying to score, ended up missing, and that was it. You know that the game is that bad when you realize that most of the fans were literally booing and chanting on how terrible the game was. And I don't blame them. They're near regulation. They sacked a coach. They replaced him with a new one that's not showing any other promise. I don't blame them. The coach isn't coaching. And the players, I just have no clue what they're doing. So I honestly don't know the future of this team at all. So far, it's seeming like a bad future. So going to our standings, first is Liverpool with 60 points. Second, Arsenal with 53 points. Third, Nottingham Forest with 47 points. Fourth is Man City with 44 points. And fifth is Bournemouth with 43 points. Bournemouth, really, I'm quite shocked by that, as Bournemouth usually are nowhere near the top 5, but I'm quite surprised for that. Again, Nottingham Forest showing real improvement. Excited for them to see that they're going to the Champions League if they keep this up. For Man City, also might join next year's Champions League if they can hold it, if possible. And like I said multiple times before, it's clear as day that Liverpool are going to win the Premier League this year. So all we could do for Man City fans is just see how the next season would go, and see what future lies within us if our new players such as Omar Marmoush and Nico Gonzalez can withstand the pressure that comes from these Premier League teams, especially when it comes to Liverpool, Arsenal, and for me, Newcastle. But that's my opinion. We'll see. Thanks for watching, but don't go anywhere as Rocco and Matt will be talking about the NBA.
Hello and welcome back to the NBA segment on the highlight reel. Today we will be covering the All-Star Weekend that occurred this weekend in the NBA. Let's get started. Let's start with the three-point contest, Rocco. Tyler Hero winning this one. What were your thoughts?
I think Tyler Hero deserved it. I was very disappointed by Damian Lillard's performance. I know a three-peat is very unlikely in this day and age, but a three-peat would have still been fun to see. I was more disappointed in my boy Jalen Brunson, though. I really wanted Brunson to win. At the end of the day, it is a competition just for fun. So congrats to Tyler Hero. I saw him from the sideline. He was locked in, and that's what you need to do to win that type of competition. So good for him. Let's see if he can win anything else with the Heat.
Moving on, we got the dunk contest. Mac McClung taking this one. He started off with a really good dunk. What were your thoughts on that?
Mac McClung is the greatest dunk contest participant of all time. I could say that and just leave it there. It'd be a valid argument. This guy jumped over a dude in a car. So not just a dude. He jumped over a dude and a car, and he dunked. Reverse layup. How does he do this every year? What's the next year going to be? He's going to jump off a ladder while falling down and flipping, and then he's going to dunk it? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be against him. Like, it's not the craziest idea in the world if he has a safe plan. Other than that, I think Mac McClung deserved it. Stephon Castle, I mean, he was good too, but Mac McClung saved that competition again. So it just wouldn't be the first time, and that's why Mac McClung is the winner for a third straight year.
Now let's talk about the games. We had Shaq's team, which was led by LeBron James, Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant. We had Chuck's team, Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Kat. And then we had Kenny's young stars, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, and Tyler Hero. And we had Candace's rising stars, Stephen Castle, Ryan Dunn, and Zach Edey. Shaq's team took it all. What were your thoughts on this?
This entire competition was a joke. And I'm looking directly into the camera while saying that. You have an all-star tournament, which I like that idea on paper. You get rid of the East versus West. But if you're just going to do that and you play to 40 points, 40 points. So your MVP is like 13 points for that game, or both of them, and you're going to 40 points. Like, at least go to 80 or 100. Make it entertaining. Have it go on for a little while. Like, some of these guys didn't even get the show out because they didn't get to play enough. So I think it's a good idea on paper, but if you're just going to go to 40 points, I don't see the enticement. I could have shut my TV off and just went right to sleep. That's what I could have done. Instead, I wanted to watch Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, and I just fell asleep. It was a nice little NyQuil for me. That's all I got to say about that. Just a disaster. I didn't watch NHL Four Nations, or excuse me, the Hockey Four Nations, which I probably should have watched that instead if I wanted to be entertained, but just a disappointing All-Star tournament. All-Star weekend, I should say.
Well, that's going to do it for us today. But don't go anywhere, because next up is Luke and Myles on their thoughts about the weekend.
Welcome to the highlight reel. Today we'll be talking about the NBA All-Star Game. So to start, the skills challenge was all right, but Victor Wembanyama and Chris Paul decided to cheat their way and intentionally miss three-point shots and just not take them at all. Luke, do you think they should have been disqualified?
Not really. I don't know if there's a rule book to the NBA skills contest, but really all you had to do was attempt the three shots, which I guess they did.
They did.
I'm not sure you can consider them attempts, but they were like at least throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And they won, so I think they should have been given the win.
Yeah, they only got like 47 seconds.
It's great.
But yeah, it was really a genius move. But what a Chris Paul move.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to win however he can.
He's got to, well, because he can't win the finals. But
Yeah.
He's the same guy who like got annoyed when somebody's shirt wasn't tucked in. So like this is completely on brand with him. I mean, it was legal, but they got disqualified because it looked really bad.
I didn't think it was illegal. So now we're going to move on to the dunk contest, and that wasn't much better.
Yeah. Andre
Jackson, I don't even think he made a dunk. He made one.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it didn't go well. Castle was pretty good, and Mac McClung won again, three-peat. Kind of boring. I mean, he wins every year because he has nothing else to do. Everyone else is practicing in the NBA while he sits and dunks and then gets signed a week before the dunk contest.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, honestly. I mean, all he's going to be known for is the dunk contest. But, like, He's so fun. He's the one guy who I actually look forward to. But overall, just the state of the dunk contest, man. What happened? Like 20 years ago, Vince
Yeah.
Carter was like
Even the Aaron
incredible.
Gordon, Zach LaVine, like 10 years ago. Not even.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
But now it's like
Now it's
terrible.
They need some real NBA players to come back if they want it to be a real thing again.
Yeah, I think they should start thinking about paying the players to
Yeah.
do it. Because this is like terrible for their image. I mean, they got nobody's. They can't even dunk. I mean, at least if they were trying to dunk, it would have been like, oh, okay, it's putting them on the map, like McClung. But I mean, Matas Bazelis, he didn't even do a dunk in like the first round. He got a straight 40. It was terrible. It really, everybody just stood up when McClung dunked and then just sat back down when anybody else dunked. So it was like, all right.
Yeah.
So now moving on to the 3-point contest, Tyler Hero won, and I was very disappointed. I thought Damian Lillard was going to three-peat, but he didn't. I was also disappointed in Steph Curry. I thought he would have put on more of a show for his hometown team. But overall, the 3-point contest, they don't have an issue with getting stars in that.
Yeah,
so I thought
because
it was
it's
good.
easy for the people to do. Dunk contests, I guess it hurts your legs, whatever. 3-point contest, you're just shooting, which you do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And no Curry Ionescu rematch like they had last year. Would you have wanted to see that again?
Yeah, I was very disappointed. I wanted the Curry versus Sabrina matchup
Especially in Golden State.
in Golden State. Yeah, and
I
if
thought
they
they
could have
should've done
gotten
it.
like Caitlin Clark,
Yeah.
that would have been great, and that would have been good branding for the WNBA. But of course, the NBA
The
misses
NBA
out.
doesn't care.
Yeah.
They're terrible at like the getting people to watch this.
I didn't even know what time the game was
Yeah.
on. It was
Now we're
bad.
gonna move on to the actual All-Star game, or what's now a tournament, which
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know was happening. It was terrible. It
Yeah.
was it was on for like hours, and it was a half hour of actual playing. 3 games, 2 semifinal games, and a championship game to 40 points,
Yeah.
which is nothing for these All-Stars that are just chalking up threes. It's 10-minute games.
Yeah, it
And-
was 3 hours, right? 3 hours worth of our time. And Kevin Hart somehow got
He was
like
the most screen time out of
he
anyone.
got like 40
He wa-
minutes.
He was there the whole time.
Like, what are we doing? This isn't a Kevin Hart comedy special. It's an NBA All-Star game, and somehow he gets the mic and just goes and talks for half the time, and it's like, what the heck's going on? And when there actually was basketball, the players tried a little bit. That's all we're asking for, like a LA Fitness game or something. Like that's all
Wemby
we're
looked like
asking.
he was trying. He was really the only one.
Yeah, he was trying. Tatum tried a little bit. Lillard tried a little bit. But overall, it was just like, I don't want to watch whoever play for like 5 minutes. Honestly, I'd rather have a whole game of the
Yeah.
players just not trying.
Yeah, I agree with that. In the end, Shaq's team won the whole thing, and they were good. I mean, they didn't really miss a lot of shots, but no one did because there wasn't much defense being played, and they beat the international team, who I thought was better and was going to win the whole thing. So what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can't really blame the failure of the All-Star game on the players at this point because they're at least giving minimal effort like they should have been doing. But just the presentation of it was so bad that I just thought it was a complete waste of time. In the middle of the third game, they gave a tribute to Inside the NBA because
Yeah.
it was their last All-Star
I was
game.
actually watching the championship for a little bit, walk away for a couple minutes and come back, and they were talking about like fishing on the court in the middle of the All-Star game, and I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, obviously Inside the NBA was a great show for 20 years. And Chuck is probably like the funniest guy on. I would have rather listened to him than Kevin Hart, but
Yeah.
I just thought it was completely unnecessary with what they did. And me as a big NBA fan didn't like any of it, and I'm hoping they go back to a normal game next
I
year.
agree. Curry ends up winning All-Star Game MVP in his hometown, which obviously they wanted, but he played well.
Yeah, he
So-
could have gone 0 for 30 and they still would have
Yeah,
given it
they
to him.
really would. If that team won, he was going to get it in Golden State.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it wasn't Golden State, so they had to give it to him
Yeah.
at that point. I'm surprised he didn't put on a show in the 3-point contest again, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all we have for you this week on the highlight reel. We'll see you next week.